What's going on, man? I've been absolutely crushing it this week. I passed another 100k eval last night, so now I've got 300k in funding, which is sick. I'm trying to build up my allocation coming into January 2026 because 2026 is going to be my year. I'm going to do some fat payouts, and it's gonna be the one. So right now I'm just trying to get these evals all stacked up and passed, so that coming into the new year I've got lots of capital. And yeah, this I'm going to break everything down. I took two trades on NQ. One was late London, and one of them was on New York AM Open. And I also traded gold. I didn't trade the Asia session. I just took a trade on gold just before, which hit take profit for a 1-to-1. And I also took this trade here on gold. So I've been absolutely printing. I don't have the executions on here for everything, but I posted all of them on my Instagram story and in Discord. So if you guys think that you need to see more executions, go there. You'll find all of it. But yeah, today I just want to break down the actual trades and talk about why I've been taking them, and also the entry model that I've been using, because ever since I started using this entry model, even though it's only been about a week, I've been absolutely crushing it. My directional bias has been way better. My entries have been cleaner. I've had less time in drawdown. Pretty much everything has been better. So I just want to explain, show a couple of examples. I did briefly explain it, but I want to show you guys examples of those entries and how it works. So let's just start with the first trade on the NASDAQ. I didn't trade Asia yesterday because we were ranging. We really didn't go anywhere during Asia. We didn't do it either on gold, so I stayed out of that session. But late London, 6:30, this is a weird time to enter. I caught a nice trade to pass one of those 100k accounts. What I have been doing is this week I haven't had much work, and so I've kind of just been watching the charts all day. And you can argue that that's not good. You should be only trading one pair in one session of the day. I totally understand that, and I did that for a long time. However, when I am able to watch the market, and I'm not actually actively watching all day long, but I'm sitting here, I'm making videos, and I'm keeping an eye on things, and it gives me a better understanding coming into the next session. Like coming into the New York session, I've already watched what happened during London, and I've watched what happened during Asia, and it just gives me a bit more context, which is nice. But obviously it's not really sustainable. You don't want to be on the chart all day if you don't have to, but that's just what I've been doing. And yeah, so the first trade here at 627, this was the new entry model. Let me just turn off the kill zones so it makes a bit more sense. This was during London. We had this 5:39. This wasn't an official news release, but Nvidia came out with some news about their chips and manufacturing in China. I don't know that much about what it actually means, but that was the cause of this massive move down. So that was a really nice data low to potentially target during New York, which we did. But before then, I wanted to see a correction, right? We came down, we took heaps of lows, took these lows, some lows down here. I wanted to see longs. So what happened? Well, on the 1 minute, we came down into this 1 minute gap. It was actually like this big, but on the 30-second, I believe it was like somewhere around there. This is the entry model, right? This is the new entry model. It's similar to IFG's, but it's slightly different. We came down and we wicked on this candle. We wicked into this gap, and then this next candle closed above this candle. Now, this would have been invalid because you need the candle to close above the candle that wicked into the gap. It's just using a fair value gap normally. That's really all it is. And you're looking for a continuation out of that, as opposed to a fair value gap failing on an inverse and then taking a setup with that momentum. So on the 30-second, I'm not going to drop down because then I have to zoom back in here. But on the 30-second, we still had a fair value gap that was unmitigated up here at the same time as delivering from this one lower. So I waited until we closed above this 30-second gap. So on the 30-second, this candle closed somewhere around here. That was my entry, and I had my stop at this low inside of this gap, and it played out really nicely. And the way that I've been managing my risk in my trades is with the fib. So this was my entry, and if I drag it down so that the 2 is at my stop loss, you can see when I'm 50% of the way to a 1-to-1 and when I get to a 1-to-1. So what I do is when I get to 50% in profit, I move my stop loss up half. Because on these accounts, I'm risking, I had like 3 or 4 minis on this trade. So I'm risking a lot to get these accounts passed. And I know that if this trade comes to 50% in profit, I'm going to be able to de-risk and still potentially get that 1-to-1 with that bigger target. So that's how I manage that. And you can see I moved it up to here, and we came up to a 1-to-1. I think I may have scaled one contract, and then we came up here and I passed that account. So that was nice, and that was that trade. It's very simple. It's, if there's a unmitigated gap above price, I'm still gonna wait for the inverse of that, because I don't want this gap to now get rejected and then come back here and start ranging. But when we closed above that and we got this other entry model down below, that was just more confirmation for me to get in, and that worked out well. So that was nice. I'll turn on these zones again. So you can see here now, let's drop to the 30-second. All right, I took a loss here, and it was terrible. I want to talk about this trade because this was absolutely A+ IFG setup. Everybody on fucking everywhere, Twitter, everything, Discord, everyone caught this trade. If you guys watch PB or Dodgy or anything, you trade IFGs, you probably caught this setup. And this is a setup that, 2 weeks ago I would have taken. And I actually lost because of it. So, on this New York Open here at 9:30, we came down, we swept the previous day low, also the London low, and we'd taken this data low from that Nvidia news release. And pretty much we just got a 30-second inverse straight through that level, and that would have been a really, really nice 30-second play. You could have had your stop below this low, or even just below the body, or at this low, and you would have caught a very nice trade on that. However, I tried to short this, which was pretty dumb now that I look back at it, but hindsight's a bitch. I shorted this trade because we did sweep this low, but we came up into this 30-second gap here, and then we wicked into that, right? You can see this candle here, putting this wick all the way through that and closed back below, and then this next candle closed below that candle. So that's the taking the fair value gap normally and not expecting it to be inverse. So that's the same entry model as that previous trade, and I expected to catch a 1-to-1 back down to these lows because I thought it was going to be a fake out. I thought, all right, we're pretending to go higher here. This is a fake out. We're going to run this low one more time before potentially going up. But then we got an inverse of that gap right after, and that stopped me out. And that would have been a really nice entry to the upside, but you can't win them all. And yeah, so that entry model failed me there. I would have been better off taking the inverse, but I thought this was a really nice trade. You can see what I'm trying to say is like this candle wicks into this gap. This line here is the bottom of that candle, and then this next candle closes below, and then you have a target. And the same thing, I would have gone like this, drag it to my stop. When we were 50% in profit, de-risked, we didn't hit that, and I lost that full balance on that trade, and I think I lost about, I don't know, like 1K or something. And this was on the funded account as well. Because like I said, I've got a couple accounts now, so I'm starting to increase the risk a little bit. If you guys don't agree, that's fine. But I'm not trying to spend months and months and months on accounts anymore. I've kind of come to understand that if you want to be getting payouts from these firms, you got to go kind of heavy, and that's just my opinion on it. You guys don't have to agree, but yeah. So that was a loss, unlucky. Super nice textbook IFG though. I wish I took that. If you guys took that, that was a W. Yeah. Then on gold, this is the trade I just took, but we won't talk about that yet. On gold, so like I said, I took about an $800 loss on that previous loss, and then I re-entered on gold at 10:48 a.m. So this was still the New York AM session, and this trade was a fair value gap continuation again. So we came down into this 1 minute. I'm still on the 30-second, but we came down into this 1 minute gap here. We wicked into that and then closed back above, right? And I think this model's so simple that you guys probably already know. Like, I don't even need to explain it, right? We wicked in, then this candle here closed above, okay? That would have been the ideal entry, and I could have taken that. However, we still had this inverse here, and this is my other entry model, so that's contradicting this trade here, because we've already wicked into this, and this is the exact thing this is the thought process I should have had on that trade just before, because it's pretty much the exact same thing happening. But you can see I waited until we got the inverse here, and then I entered the trade, because I now know, okay, we came into this fair value gap, we closed above this previous candle, and we got an inverse. So it's just an extra confluence. That's what I was trying to explain when I said that I was changing my strategy. Is it's not really changing my strategy in terms of directional bias, it's just adding something in. And it's really an extra confluence that helped me out here. And I did the same thing. When we got to 50% in profit, which was here, I moved my stop loss up and de-risked this trade, because like I said, I had about 800 to a K on this trade, and I de-risked it there. Then we came, so my final TP, it was somewhere up around here, bro. It doesn't even really matter anymore. But this was my target. My target was all the way up here at these previous highs, all the way over here. And we did end up taking that, which was, the delivery on New York session was just beautiful, honestly. But yeah, so I de-risked, let this trade play. I took out some minis here at a 1-to-1, right? So my original stop loss would have been at a 1-to-1 there. Like that. I was already de-risked. I closed a couple partials. That's what I talk about when I say I still trade 1-to-1s. I scale out at 1-to-1 and I move my stop losses. And then the rest of the minis, I let them run until the account was passed. Oh no, sorry. This was on the funded account. So on the funded that I passed, I lost about 800 bucks. And then on this trade, I made back that 800 plus 200, and it was a $200 winning day on this account. So overall, yesterday I made like 1.8K, but I only got one $200 winning day, if that makes sense. So yeah. And then, oh, by the way, this account that I'm logged into now is another eval that I'm trying to get past, but that's not the point. Okay, so let's just turn back on the kill zones. This is a lot. I'm trying my best to explain everything here. This is every trade across all of yesterday and the New York session and the Asia and London. So it's everything. This was just before, right? This actually would have stopped me out, so I'm glad that I partialed where I did. But this was on the eval. I risked, I had 6 minis on this trade, so we can plug this here. All right, so I had 6 minis. No, that's not right. I had a tighter stop than that. Maybe that was it. Okay, I risked more than I wanted to on this trade, not gonna lie. But yeah, I risked 1.2K on an eval, 100K eval. I got to make 6K to pass it. When we got here to that 50%, I trailed my stop up there, so I only had 600 risk on the table. And then at that 1-to-1 here, you can see the fib, it extends out perfectly this high. That's where I closed out 3 minis, and I had the rest to run up to these New York highs, and that would have passed. Oh no, that would have got me like 2.5K profit. Yeah, about 2.5K. But all that this trade actually ended up doing was making back a loss, which was from yesterday. Oh, dude, there might be a loss in here somewhere that I didn't mark up. I'm not sure. But this eval was down, and then on this, I made back a little bit of that. So I'm still 250 in drawdown on this eval. And I sold 3 minis here, and then the last 3 minis got stopped out here at break even. And I'm glad that I went break even, because it would have been a full stop loss, and I could have let that trade turn into a losing trade if I didn't manage my risk. And this trade was same thing. Let's turn off this. This was a fair value gap continuation as well. It wasn't an IFEG. It was just a continuation off of this gap here. So you can see we actually inversed this gap on this 1 minute, and that was a really nice entry. I wanted to take that as well, coming out of this low. But okay, let me break this down again, right? So the Asia session opened. This is 2045. We had this gap here, and you can see we closed inside of this, maybe slightly below. On the XAU chart, we didn't. We closed back inside of this. we got this candle close above here, right? But the reason I didn't enter this trade is because we still had this gap here that we were holding, put in triple equal highs, we came down lower. Then we pumped up. I wasn't able to get into that trade. This would have been a better entry, but this candle was too big. And then we came into this 1 minute here, right? Like this. It's also a 30-second somewhere. You can see this candle here respects this zone, closes back up above, and then this next candle here closed above on the 30-second. Okay, this actually might have been a little bit of an early entry now that I think about it. That's actually a bit of a rule break. Damn. I just had conviction in this trade. We closed back up here out of respecting this gap. I went for a 1-to-1, same thing. Trailed my stop loss to 50%. And this was on the funded account. Oh no, sorry, this was on this account. And I trailed my stop to 50%. I got a 1-to-1 on that trade and took out 3 minis, and the rest got stopped at break even. So that's everything. That's every trade. I know that was a lot. I hope that made sense in some way and you guys can understand the way that I'm viewing the market. That's not really I didn't really explain my higher time frame bias, but like a lot of it is mechanical. A lot of it is just low time frame mechanical entries, and looking at previous session highs and lows and how we're reacting off of those. But yeah, overall, it's been a pretty successful couple of days of trading. I've got, so I passed I passed a 100k account. I've got one more winning day that I need on one of the 100ks. I've got one winning day from last night on the other one. And then I'm trying to get this 100k passed. And then I've also got a 50k on Apex and on Alpha, which are both really low in drawdown. So I do have those accounts, but I'm not really that worried about them at the moment. But that's really the plan. The plan is just to keep passing accounts over the month and come into 2026 strong with lots of accounts and trade them well and hopefully do some numbers on those accounts. I could make a really good amount of money per month if I trade well on those accounts, and I'm not going to copy trade them necessarily because I've got one of them on Project X, 2 of them on Tradeovate. I might copy trade the Tradeovate ones, but the way I kind of want to do it is like when I'm trading Asia, just trade on one account. If I take a loss, just be done. And then when I come into the New York session, if I'm trading that session, which I have been, I'm not going to lie, then I'll trade the other account and I'll see how I can do on that account. And I'll just sort of rotate them. I think that's a bit better psychologically for me. I don't think I'm quite ready to copy trade and that sort of thing. But yeah, overall, really, I've just been crushing it and it's been fun. If you guys want to see like my entries and my exits as I'm taking them, it's not signals, but I post all of it in Discord. I'm pretty much a nerd, bro. I'm on Discord all day, posting all of the entries on Discord and on my Instagram stories. So yeah, go and follow me on Instagram. I'm posting like 5 times a day on there. So yeah, I'm juggling a lot, but I've been hustling. Heaps of videos I've been making, taking good trades, and yeah, it's overall just been pretty good. I think I've won like 8 out of the last 10 trades or something like that. So it's been pretty nice. Yeah, I guess that's all. I hope you guys all trade well today. I will trade the New York session later, but we'll just have to see what happens. So yeah, appreciate you guys, man. Have a good day.